Hey folks, welcome to Eastman's Hunting Journal YouTube page. We're going to do a gear review on Banish, the Banish 46 V2, which is Silencer Central's brand new suppressor. Now, make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification bell so that you get notified every time we do one of these gear reviews, or we have a ton of hunting content that comes out every single week. So if you're into hunting, if you're into hunting gear, make sure you hit that notification button. This suppressor is a little bit different. It goes in a wider range of calibers. Brandon, what calibers? I mean, you could put this on a 22 if you wanted to, right?
Not quite that small, but pretty close. A 223.
A 223.
Yep, 223. So like the 5.56 size, all the way up to. We always say, "Well, I don't need an elephant gun to shoot elk," but what if you're going to shoot an elephant?
That's right.
That's what it's for. I mean, you can go. It's actually designed for those larger calibers. You think African game, dangerous game, especially like the 450 Bushmaster size of caliber.
So the 338 Lapua, all that stuff. And you know, you are like, well, I'm never going to go to Africa. Yeah, but if you go to Yukon moose hunting, if you shoot the big bears in Alaska, even down to this is my 300 Win Mag, and it'll fit on there. And what's the difference, say, versus like this is the Banish 30 Gold, which is 30 caliber, which I have used on this. I use this in Africa. But what's the difference between this and this? If I put with this being on this rifle.
So the biggest difference, obviously, that's designed for bigger calibers, can be used to smaller ones, like we just said. So there, you think of it as simple tubular design. That the bore on that is bigger for those bigger calibers, and so it can shoot anything basically up to those bigger calibers. So there's going to be more of a gap around the bullet as it's going through. So the human ear can't really pick it up, but if you have a decibel meter, it will. There won't be quite a decibel reduction with the smaller ones, because it's not, for lack of better terms, kind of encasing it as it's shooting through there. But the human ear really can't tell the difference. And basically a suppressor is going to reduce the decibels by 30 decibels, which is substantial when you're shooting a firearm, to the point where you're not going to get your eardrums blown out. And so whether you're going after elephants in Africa or anything smaller right here in North America, that one's got you covered. This one has you covered from 30 caliber pretty much all the way down. But anything bigger than that, like, you're not going to shoot through that, obviously.
So does it change? So it'll change the pressure as well. If that bullet isn't encased as closely, the pressure changes, which obviously changes the rifle. That's the only downside to going this big. You can't swap these two out on this rifle and have it hit the same mark every time.
Right. It's no different than shooting unsuppressed and shooting suppressed. Your point of impact is going to vary, and it really depends on the caliber. It depends on the rifle, the specific rifle. Like I've had my 6.5 PRC, dramatically different point of impact, suppressed versus not suppressed. I mean, like over 10 inches.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's dramatic. Now, the old tried and true trusty 30-06, and 2.5, 3 inches difference.
Oh,
probably.
really? That much different?
It's quite a bit different. And then I've shot other rifles. Like recently, I tested a Weatherby rifle with a carbon barrel, and the way that rifle is designed and everything, I didn't really see much of a difference in point of impact. So it's really rifle specific, caliber specific. So it won't. I mean, you can obviously change suppressors on guns like crazy if you want to, and your point of impact might change, but I haven't seen a huge difference between the Banish Backcountry and the Banish 30 as far as point of impact, but they're all both basically 30 cal and under. But that one, you will see a difference
because of the pressure difference. So let's talk about that. What's the specifics? I mean, this is obviously the Banish 30, and it has the 2-inch extension on it, so it's a little bit longer. It's a little bit longer than this one. But what's the difference in length and weight and chambers and all of that?
So Banish 46 V2 is 8 inches in total length. This, I believe, with the extension is 9. It's 7 plus the 2-inch extension is 9 inches. That weighs just under a pound. We were talking about this the other day, that because our generation isn't really used to seeing that on the front of a rifle as much as somebody just coming up through the ranks now, it still looks like subconsciously you think, oh man, I don't want this big heavy thing on the end of the barrel. And they're titanium. They're lightweight. They're not,
these are nothing. I mean, it looks like a big giant piece of steel, right? Like a big rod of steel, but it's nothing. It's hollow. There's nothing in it. fact, every time I hand this to somebody that's never touched one, they go, wow, that's light.
Yep, light and almost indestructible too, because the titanium is tougher than tough. So there is a few ounces of a weight penalty, but a lot of these newer platform rifles too are designed with shorter barrels. So it's like we've read on a couple websites, they beckon for a suppressor.
Yeah, this one definitely beckons for a suppressor.
Yeah, it does. And all the added benefits that you get shooting suppressed versus not. A couple years ago, honestly, I thought, this whole suppressor thing, it's a fad. It's not going to last. It's just the newest thing, and 5 years from now, we won't even be talking about them. That's not true. That's you think that in your mind until you shoot a rifle suppressed, and it is a game changer. Increased accuracy, dramatically less recoil.
Yeah, I had a podcast with Brandon Maddox recently on a hunt that we did in Montana where he shot a really nice whitetail, and I asked him a couple things. One of them was, what is the recoil difference? If you're shooting suppressed, they say it's 35%. It's as much or more than if you're shooting a muzzle brake, which is, I mean, why shoot a muzzle brake when they're louder? If you can shoot suppressed, that you don't have to have hearing protection, it's the same amount of recoil, lessening of the recoil, and it's not much more difference in length.
Yep, and you're raising teenage girls.
Yes.
I'm raising teenage girls, and they're all small body frame,
God help
right?
us.
Yeah, cumulatively 5 teenage girls, and but they're all smaller framed human beings than say we are. And before the suppressor became a game changer in our family, I was having them shoot custom light loads, reduced recoil, but then you're limited with the critter that you can shoot. But it would just pound them.
That's a good hit. He's probably going to die right there.
Well, now, let's use this one, for example. 300 Win Mag. This is an ultra-light rifle, and 300 Win Mag kicks a lot anyway. And on this platform, I helped you sight it in and mount the scope and all that, and it was not a party without the suppressor on there. Suppressed, your girls can shoot this, and they did.
They shot it in Africa with a 200 grain bullet. Yeah. A 200 grain bullet out of 300 Win Mag. It is a mule until you put suppressed on it.
Yep, it's a game changer.
It's quiet, and so you're not, the kids they're not getting the shock value of the noise. They're not getting the thump of the rifle, and they're not creating, early in their shooting career, they're not creating flinches, which is in itself is a game changer. Not to mention the follow-up shots. So I was able to shoot my elk with this exact rifle, and I screwed up. I'm learning how to not cant. I have a natural cant. So I screwed up and missed that bull at 190 yards. But because I was shooting suppressed, all he did was look at the dirt behind him, turn around, and stop again, and I was able to take that bull. Because I'm suppressed, the cows didn't run off. Only thing they heard is me jack another shell in.
Yeah, it's the follow-up shot. We've talked before about our friend Glenn Eberly, the founder of Eberly Stock, and he was on a Dall sheep hunt. Made a great shot, the first shot, but the animal didn't drop right away. Instead of sitting there watching it suffer before it drops, and he got another great follow-up shot and dropped him in his tracks. So, and it wasn't like it was a 100-yard shot; it was out there a ways, and so it's a game changer. And we're getting to that age, we're in our upper 40s where hearing loss is a concern.
What's that?
Yeah. and we hunt with our dads and uncles and some of our hunt winners and everything that are, 70 plus. And, they didn't have the luxury of shooting suppressed. And so you can see the hearing loss that has happened. And so hopefully this is going to curb some of that trend, especially in our kids, yes, because they're starting with it from pretty much day one. And we shoot obviously with hearing protection at the range, but when you're out hunting in the field, most of the time you're not doing that,
right? Unless
you have something like a walker's game ear or something. But statistically, most people aren't hunting with that.
Right. So the other thing that we talked about, that Brandon Maddox and I talked about on my podcast, is not just the suppressed, not just the recoil reduction, but how to clean them. In which these things, you can tear them all apart, and they have baffles in there, and they nest together like the Russian nesting dolls. You can't put them in upside down, which freaks me out. The first time I did it, I was like, what if I get one of these just slightly off and then it blows up in my face? It doesn't. They nest together perfectly, so you can clean them very simply. Now this one, the backcountry, you can't clean as easy, but you just put it in CLR, leave it in CLR for a couple hours, take it out, rinse it off, and it's fine because it's titanium, it won't rust.
Right.
But the other thing he talked about is the changes and how easy it is to get a suppressor.
That Brandon Maddox, the CEO of Silencer Central, the founder of the company, he has completely changed the game, not just for their company, but for every company.
Because they sell everybody suppressors.
They actually sell their competitors suppressors, which is, I think, pretty cool. It shows that he's really working to try to make these more accessible for everybody. And so he has worked, when I say worked directly with the ATF, I mean sitting across a firing squad from them as they're grilling him with questions, developing a system that has changed the game. And this comes from, he's talked a lot about his pharmacy background and, I guess for lack of better terms, mail order drugs. There's a lot of regulations that go into that. And so he thought, there's got to be a way to do this with this product too. And he figured it out. He assembled a team, and their company is growing by leaps and bounds. And they've made it easy, whether it's doing it online, like I know you've done, calling Silencer Central's headquarters office in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, talking to somebody who's speaking clear English.
In Sioux Falls, South Dakota?
In Sioux Falls, and it is, they're so helpful. And in fact, all the way down to the point of, we talked about how the suppressor world has kind of taken over the firearms industry. What about my old 30-06? It is not threaded. And I didn't plan to ever get it threaded because I don't know of a local gunsmith that can do that for me. I'm sure they're around, but it's not prevalent.
Right.
And I'm thinking, man, that sounds like a pain in the butt. I'm not the only one that thought that. Brandon Maddox knew that, and so he developed a service. They bought the machine to do it at their place in Sioux Falls, and he's got guys that all day long, that's what they do, is they thread barrels. And the program is, I think it's $165. They send you a gun case. You send back in the gun case your unscoped rifle, so you take everything off.
Which you have to take, you're going to have to adjust it anyway, because these change the pressure. So who cares? You take the scope off, you have to start from zero again.
Yep,
anyway.
Exactly. They thread the barrel once they get it, they send it back in the gun case, and then they include an option for you to even keep the gun case if you want to. So, I mean, it's as easy as it could be. And I mean, there's almost no barrier to entry anymore to get into it, including the price, because as of the time of this video recording, they have a buy one, get one, a BOGO sale going on.
Yeah, and it's a supplies last kind of thing. So make sure you jump on there, silencercentral.com, and check out the buy one, get one free, and tell them Eastman sent you, because you're going to probably get a little bit extra off that. Now, let's talk, you kind of skipped over a little bit of the ATF. That's changed a lot. When I first got this suppressor, it was 14, I think I waited 14 months or some crazy thing. Now, granted, there was a little bit of on my fault because of my nickname versus my legal name. But it was, just as recent as a year ago, it was weeks, 14 weeks, 18 weeks, and it's down now to 7 days. On average, it's 7 days because of ATF has changed some stuff. And Brandon, in my podcast, explained that. But also their process. So if you live in the 42 states that it is legal to have one of these, they can ship it to your door from Silencer Central in South Dakota right to your door once the paperwork's done. They get online. You don't have to be a guru in electronics or digital stuff. You just get online with their tech, and they're seeing the same screen as you. You fill out the forms. They send you a fingerprint thing. You do your fingerprints. You ship it back to them. They get into the system, and within 7 days, you could have your suppressor mounted and ready to roll.
It is a game changer in the shooting world, in the hunting world.
Check them out. The Banish 46 V2, all the way down to the gold, all the way to the backcountry, whatever fits you. And make sure you do it now. Get one of the buy one, get one free. It is an investment that you will not regret. In fact, I was told this when I bought this one. I told one of my buddies, I'm like, yeah, I was at a show. I was at this Farco show, went over and bought it, did the whole 9 yards. And he goes, you won't own one. I'm like, no, I bought one that fits on all my rifles. I'll only have to buy one. Yeah, I think I have 4 or 5 now. Not because it's a pain in the butt to take them off. It's just a lot of fun. Make sure you check them out, silencercentral.com. Make sure you smash that notification so that you get gear reviews just like this. We also do a ton of hunting content every single week, everything from Africa to big game North America, elk, deer, you name it, even a sheep. There's a sheep coming up pretty soon. So hit the notification and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.
right, literally right where I was aiming.